and welcome. And let me just say thank you for watching WIN TV today. You know, we're now calling our show Let's Talk. And we're so glad to have you here because this is the place that brings you the latest stories and conversations from diverse communities and industries focused primarily on the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. But, you know, we are always so happy to welcome folks from not only all across the country, but even around the world. We've had some guests outside of the United States who have joined us on WIN TV, which we're now calling Let's Talk. So we're glad that you're here with us. I'm your host, Denise Rolark Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer. And today we have another group of incredible guests and topics that we surely will captivate your attention. But, you know, hey, I don't know how you all have been feeling the last couple of days, but it's been hot. I'm not one to complain about hot weather. I am a hot weather girl, but it appears as though summer is not leaving us anytime soon. The meteorological first day of fall was September the 1st, and astronomically, it begins September 23rd. So temperatures this week have been brutal. Summer says, I may have stepped away for a minute, but I am not gone. 2 pools, one at Hearst Pool in Northwest and Oxen Run Pool here in Ward 8 in Southeast, and several spray parks are staying open until September the 21st. So you do not have to put that swimming gear away after a long day in class or a long day at work. You can still go and get an afternoon splash. Area cooling centers were open until yesterday. And so, you know, what we're doing the best we can. The city's doing the best it can to make sure that people are safe and comfortable during this extremely, extremely hot weather. I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy of this week's Washington Informer. I'm grabbing my copy right here. Because I love to show you the real print edition. Yes, this is it. And so I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy of the Informer. If you don't know where to pick up a copy, I'm going to send you to our website, which is washingtoninformer.com. And while you're there, hopefully you'll sign up and become a subscriber so that looking for that print edition won't be difficult, because you'll get the digital edition right there online at washingtoninformer.com. So please be sure to visit the website, sign up, and we welcome you as a member of the Washington Informer family. We hope that you will click and share this broadcast on your social media platforms and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X. Ooh, that's the first time I've said that on the show. A little late, but that's what it is. Follow us on X and YouTube. And you know, you can not only follow, but you can subscribe to those channels as well, especially our YouTube channel. So that way you won't miss our weekly broadcasts, because as you know, we're here every Friday from noon to 1 on YouTube, Facebook, where else? Twitter. Thank you, Sherry. All the other social media channels. So you can find us. And to keep up with the latest news, of course, as I said, remember to subscribe to our digital print edition, as well as our digital edition at washingtoninformer.com. Today, we have an exclusive interview with Dr. Darrell M. Gray II, the president and CEO of Wellpoint, Maryland's Medicaid health insurance provider, who's here to talk to us about his new role at Wellpoint and some of the initiatives aimed at enhancing the well-being of Maryland residents. Nicole Austin Hillary is joining us. She is with the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, and she's going to be sharing information about the upcoming Congressional Black Caucus Annual Legislative Conference, which will be taking place here in Washington, D.C., September 20th through the 23rd. It is going to be probably, I am guessing it's going to be one of their biggest, because, you know, they had to, I think, cancel one. I'm not sure. Nicole will bring us up to date, but the caucus was, like everybody else, was impacted by the pandemic. The convention center was, and so the event couldn't take place, but people are coming back. And because we're about to go into a new political climate, we certainly do want to know what our congressional legislators, particularly our Black legislators, who have grown to 58, and some leading some of the Congress's most important committees. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but what we can expect during the CBC ALC. We will also hear from Dr. Edward Rice, a multi-talented author, illustrator, and professor who is here to talk to us about a children's book he illustrated regarding an African-American superhero. We don't often call this person a superhero, but Dr. Rice has made a book about this superhero that we all know if we're fortunate enough. And so I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm going to keep that a secret until we get Dr. Rice on the show, and then he can tell us who he decided to dedicate this book after and who he called a superhero. I love it. And we'll talk to Anwar Salim, Executive Director and H Street Main Street Festival Director, Whooping Yap, both of she's the H Street Coordinator and Special Projects Manager, because what's going on? Well, the H Street Festival is coming back. It's one of the, is that a word, hugest? It's one of the largest festivals, community neighborhood festivals that happens in Washington, D.C. I'm not sure what year we're in, but it's a massive, massive production, well attended, lots of fun. And so we're going to talk about the 8th Street Festival that's coming up in just a week, and what folks can participate in and enjoy while they're there. And then finally, our lifestyle reporter, Brenda Seiler, will be talking to talented, award-winning actress, writer, producer, voiceover artist, educator, and social activist, Tawanda Underdew. Tawanda serves as the SAG-AFTRA AFTRA National Board, and they're going to talk about the writer strike that's going on right now and the ongoing labor dispute, and sort of, what we hope will happen. It's going to impact a lot of what we're accustomed to seeing and watching in our movies and on television. And I'm so glad that Brenda will be interviewing Ms. Underdew to bring us some details. So before we bring on our first guest, let's watch our weekly news broadcast by Curtis Knowles.
This is WIN TV News, bringing you the news that matters. The Restaurant Association of Maryland kicks off the 4th annual culinary exploration that will take place from September 15th to the 24th. The association is working to bring all counties and eateries together to support the state's food industry. The dining public is invited to enjoy Maryland Restaurant Week with the specific specials during the time. The PG County Economic Development Corporation has also signed on as a supporter of the Restaurant Week. And participating county restaurants include Burger Apollo and Via Roma Pizzeria in Camp Springs, B&G Tavern in Accokeek, Manila Mart in Beltsville, and Supreme Barbecue in Lamb. A Maryland police officer was suspended after a bystander recorded video of him embracing a woman and entering the backseat of his patrol vehicle with her at a public park, officials announced on Tuesday. The video caught the uniformed PG County officer entering his cruiser with the woman at South Lawn Park in Washington, D.C. suburb of Oxon Hill on Monday. The PG County Police Department said Tuesday that it was aware of the video and that the officer has been identified and has since been suspended pending an investigation, with the identified officer being known as Francesco Marlette, who was previously accused of abusing a former girlfriend's child in a 2016 case. The recent announcement by the Giant Food Corporation that its Alabama Avenue Southeast store location in Ward 8 will no longer carry some national name brand products. There will be additional security patrolling the aisles, and customers will now have to show a receipt to exit the store, has many Ward residents uneasy. The Food Corporation has not announced such measures at any of its other stores, and the Alabama Avenue location is the only full-service grocery store in Ward 8. State of Board Education member Marcus Batchelor tweeted about the occasion saying, quote, "They're not closing the store, they're just not putting anything in it. In the nation's capital, whole communities become deprived of basic essentials while leaders underinvest and undercommit to lasting solutions."
Thank you so much, Curtis. Some big news happening in DC, and we're going to follow this Giant food store story and actually hopefully get some folks on to talk about what's happening, this theft and also hunger. I see that there's probably a correlation between the two, but at any rate, we'll talk about that later on. It's my pleasure now to bring on Dr. Gray who is the president and CEO of Wellpoint, Maryland. Dr. Gray, welcome to Let's Talk. I'm so this, used to saying Win TV, but welcome to Let's Talk.
Thank you so much, Denise. It's certainly a pleasure to be with you today.
So I should start by saying congratulations. I don't know how new you are in this position as the president and CEO of Wellpoint, but congratulations and welcome.
Thank you so much. It's been tremendously fun and impactful, even in the short time of me joining as president of Wellpoint on July 3rd of this year. Certainly, I'm no stranger to executive leadership, and working with our company. Our parent company of Wellpoint is actually Elevance Health. And starting in August of 21, I served as Elevance Health's Chief Health Equity Officer before transitioning to this role. So thank you again.
Well, tell us a little bit about, just what you plan to do in this position, and what, as you see the state of health in the state of Maryland,
Yes.
How do you plan to address it?
Well, first, I'll just say, Maryland is home for me. I grew up in Maryland. I grew up in Baltimore County and Baltimore City. For those who are intimate with or very familiar with the areas, I attended Falstad Middle School and Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. So to be able to serve in a role as president and CEO of Wellpoint, Maryland, second largest MCO or managed care organization for Medicaid in the state, is tremendously personal and an honor. And so as I think about where we as Wellpoint are going and where we are keenly focused, is surely on ensuring that everyone has a fair and just opportunity to be as healthy as is possible. And when I speak of being healthy, I'm not just talking about, going to the emergency department, going to see a provider. Those things are incredibly important. But also the prevention side and what happens outside of hospital and clinic walls, what happens in neighborhoods and homes also contributes to whole health and behavioral health. And so we are keenly focused on what we can do with our members in the communities in which they reside, but also in partnership with community partners, in partnership with healthcare providers, to ensure that we are delivering in a way that really advances whole health for those whom we get to serve, Denise.
So when you say deliver, what are some of the resources and services that you're providing? And I know I also want you to touch on the point that, the need for Medicaid recipients to recertify. Yes. I don't want to lose that point either in this discussion. But so why don't we start with that? How are you trying to, besides joining us today, how are you trying to get the word out to make sure that Maryland residents recertify that are on Medicaid?
Thanks for that question. It's such a timely question. For those who may not be familiar, we're in a period of Medicaid redeterminations, which is a period that we haven't been in for a few years. During the public health emergency, that redetermination was paused. But now we are reevaluating people's eligibility for Medicaid. Now, that changes over time because for some, maybe they got a new job that has a higher income that makes them ineligible. Maybe some aged out, or maybe some just moved away. And so it's a time of redetermination. And it's such an incredible time because we don't want people to lose coverage so that they continue to access both preventative and necessary care services that they have. Now, what's so important is that people, in the state of Maryland, we have Medicaid check-in. And people can check that out through MarylandHealthConnection.com to learn more about Medicaid check-in through Health Connections. Now, we as Wellpoint partner with the state, Maryland Department of Health, as well as other Medicaid organizations in the state to deliver on Medicaid check-in and ensure that people are not unduly losing coverage to Medicaid. One part of this, to get to your point, one of your points, Denise, is we are doing assisted enrollment. Okay. And what that means is we are meeting with people, Wellpoint members in the community, to assist through the task of enrolling and ensuring that they are renewing their Medicaid if eligible. And if you want to connect with us, I encourage you to do so. And you're a Wellpoint member. We have 3 upcoming events that I encourage our viewers, your listeners, to mark on their calendars. One is September 14th at Dr. Levy's office. One is September 28th at Family Health Centers of Baltimore. And on September 30th, we will be at Prince George's Recreation Center. You can certainly follow us on social media channels such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn to learn more. You can even reach out to us via phone for those who are Wellpoint members to our member services at 833-707-0867. But to your latter part of your question,
let me
Denise,
get that number from you again, Dr. Gray, please.
833-707-0867. That's our member services line.
Great. Okay. We wanted to post that on the screen. So go right ahead.
And you also mentioned, well, what are the services that we are bringing to the community and working with the community to deploy to ensure that people are able to achieve their highest level of health possible? And I go back to something you said, and even something that was featured on the news segment that you just showed. You know, food insecurity is one area that we are keenly invested in, because to my point earlier, you know, health, only part of health happens in the clinic, in the hospital, in the emergency department, in the urgent care. A lot of health happens in communities and homes. And so being a part of the solution to tackle things like food insecurity, that's part of the resources we're bringing. Housing insecurity, that's part of the resources that we're bringing to bear. Certainly as we partner around with the state around things like dental care and dental health, oral health, bringing educational resources to the community. Please look for us in the community. You'll see our Wellpoint van at multiple places across Maryland. If you see it, stop us, say hello. We would love to talk to you about all that we're doing in our community.
That's a wonderful thing. I mean, when you talk about a Wellpoint van and recognizing the fact that a lot of the medical vans sort of got parked, they weren't out and about. So you all are out and about now in the community. Do you have like a regular schedule or
oh man.
Yeah, how can people know when you're headed to their neighborhoods?
So definitely follow us on our social channels. We'll show where we're popping up. We've been very actively engaged recently in school readiness with our students across Maryland, partnering whether it be with weekend backpacks or United Way to ensure that students are having supplies they enter school, but also with weekend backpacks as an example, we're also ensuring that they have food outside of that Monday through Friday schedule where while they're in the schoolyard, they can have access to breakfast and lunch. But what happens on the weekend when that school is not in session? So partnering with organizations such as that, we are going all over from Baltimore to PG County to Anne Arundel. So we have such a wonderful schedule of upcoming events. And I encourage our listeners and viewers to check us out on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn to see where we're going next.
You know, one other question I wanted to get to you, Dr. Gray, before you leave us. I don't know how other people are hearing news, but every single day I'm hearing about more and more people getting COVID. It looks like it's back, and many places are requiring mask mandates again. What are you seeing in Maryland, and how are you all preparing or informing your Medicaid community about what they should be doing at this point?
Yeah, we are tracking this closely, Denise. We certainly, to your point, have seen an increase in cases and increase in hospitalizations of late. We are tracking this routinely. Certainly, we are alongside our state partners encouraging people to be mindful of safe hygienic practices. We are encouraging people to, if eligible, consider vaccination. And we are encouraging people to seek care if they believe that they have symptoms that require attention. And this is something we're partnering not just as Wellpoint with the state, but across all of our Medicaid organizations in the state to do.
And are there places that you recommend where people can get test kits, or how does that work?
Yeah, so in addition to places where people can get it at their local pharmacy, we do encourage people to talk to their local healthcare provider about the options that are best for them. Particularly as I'm thinking about both our kids and our elderly, it's imperative that they be connected to a healthcare provider that can not only guide them to resources and locations where they can be tested or vaccinated, but also educational resources for them so that they have someone to reach out to in time of need, particularly if they unfortunately may face contracting COVID.
Wonderful. I thank you for that. One of the things I often ask people, and we've got a little bit more time, so I've got to ask you, how did you end up in this career? What was it that, what was your journey to where you are today, and your purpose? Why do you do this?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be so candid with you because you asked. It's nothing but the grace of God. If you would have asked me years ago, sitting in a classroom at Falstaff Middle School in Baltimore, sitting in a classroom at Poly in Baltimore City, if I thought I'd be CEO and president of Wellpoint, an organization that gets to serve over 300,000 members across Maryland who have Medicaid, I probably would have said no. But it's been so amazing and incredible to see how God has helped to orchestrate these steps from going to Morehouse College to going to Howard. And I know you went to Howard. I went to Howard for medical school, to then going on to different parts of training to ultimately become a gastroenterologist and a researcher and a community advocate, to ultimately landing at Elevance Health, being their chief health equity officer. And now here at Wellpoint, I couldn't have written this story. I do this because I feel it is my calling. My calling, I believe, is to architect systems that allow people to achieve healthier lives and lifestyles. And certainly, I have to give full credit to God. I can't take any credit for it. So,
and if you could wave a magic wand and change anything about the state of health in Maryland, what would you want to change?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I think, one of the things that I love that we get to do as Wellpoint in partnering with the state is really focusing on prevention. Mm-hmm. And so as I think about if I could wave a magic wand, I would create conditions in which it's easy for everyone to really have a preventative lifestyle. So, healthcare system has largely been revolving around being a repair shop. You break your leg, you have a heart attack, you go in, we fix it. How do we prevent those things from happening? If I had a magic wand, I would create conditions in which that's easy for everyone to do.
Wow, that's let's make that happen. Let's make that happen, Dr. Gray. I want to thank you really so much for being with us today. Before we close out, is there anything you'd like to share that we didn't touch on?
To those who are tuning in and who are Wellpoint members, thank you. Thank you for trusting us and being your hopefully lifetime trusted healthcare partner. We want to partner with you across the lifespan. For those of you who aren't Wellpoint members, but know someone who is going through the redetermination process, again, Medicaid check-in through Maryland Health Connections is a resource for you, but we can be a resource for you as well. I hope to see you in the community. And thank you, Denise, for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. We've been talking with Dr. Darrell M. Gray, the president and CEO of Wellpoint, Maryland's Medicaid health insurance provider. I deeply appreciate you spending this time with us as well.
Thank you so much, Denise.
All righty. Have a good one.
You too.
So as we look for our next guest, I think maybe we'll just proceed, shall we?
Then I'll have to move along because she got something else to do.
Well.
Okay. So we're going to go to Ed Rice.
Yes, Dr. Rice. Let's bring Dr. Rice on. Hi, Dr. Rice. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I didn't tell folks who this superhero is. Now, I got this email the other day, and there was something about the superhero in the book, and I opened up the digital edition of the book. I should have been doing something else, and instead I read the entire book and said, let me give him a call and see if we can get him on WIN TV. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. I hope you have a few minutes now because you know how this show goes. You get complications. Yeah. So our guest who we were waiting for actually is here, and she's got a short time frame. So can I put you on hold for a minute?
Absolutely. No
Wonderful. And we're still going to keep them trying to figure out who that superhero is. So we'll be right back. There you are, Nicole Austin Hillary, President and CEO of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. Welcome to WIN TV and Let's Talk.
Thank you. It's so great to be here as always. Thank you for your continued work for the community.
Thank you. And I deeply, deeply appreciate this time because I know you are in the thick of it, trying to put this conference together.
We are, but I tell people it's good energy. This is good busy. Because it's about the business of the people. So it buoys me and gives me energy. So thank you.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I shared with folks that, the annual legislative conference is coming up. I think I had the dates right, September 20th through the 23rd. Is that correct?
September 20th through the 24th officially, but everything pretty much wraps up the evening of the 23rd.
So this is what year of the conference?
This is year 52.
Isn't it amazing?
Hard to believe. It is amazing. It's absolutely amazing how much time has gone by. But you know what I love, Denise, is that it is an event that everyone looks forward to. And they look forward to it because it is a coming together of our community to do work, to strategize, to figure out how we collectively can be problem solvers, how we can, I think of it as really one giant town hall where we all come together, we lay out what are the issues our communities are facing, and how do we together, working with our elected officials, working with grassroots folks, advocates, and just concerned citizens, how do we all put our collective thinking caps on and figure out how to move our community forward and do more to empower the Black community globally?
Well, it scares me because when you say 52 years, and I know I was at the first one, so I'm like, oh my God. But anyway.
How did you manage that? I don't know how you managed that.
I think they pushed me through on a stroller or something. I don't know. But the one thing I've always enjoyed about this, because, you're talking about some of our nation's top leaders, right?
Yes.
Legislative leaders.
Yes.
And if you go to ALC, I mean, you could be standing right next to one of those members of Congress. And that question that you've always wanted to ask, they seem to be very eager to answer. I mean, you can see them in sessions in your brain trust. You can see them in town halls. We'll talk a little bit about that. But if you have that question and they're standing right there, you can still have that conversation. And there's no other place I can think of where that's where people like that are accessible, accessible.
You're absolutely right, and that's what the members are invested in. They know they're in Washington to be about the business of the people, and that's one of the reasons that Congressional Black Caucus members envisioned this conference so many years ago, was so that they could be accessible, so that they could talk directly with constituents and concerned citizens. And you're right, Denise, I can't think of another example that is similar to this in any way. And look, let's get down to it. This year, in year 52, we arguably as a Black community are facing more critical issues than ever before since the start of this conference. We are under attack when it comes to our democracy writ large. And that's why our theme this year is focused around democracy. We think that these are the issues that folks want to talk about, want to get responses to and answers to. We have to get down to it. We have to give our communities information, tools. And so that's why this year is so critically important.
Share the theme with us, Nicole.
Yes. Our theme is securing our democracy, protecting our freedoms, and uplifting our culture. And those words are just critical. As we brainstormed and thought about what should the focus be, we thought that's where we have to land. It is about our democracy. It is about our freedoms. It is about our culture. And it really ties into work that the CBC, the members have been doing throughout this year. Chairman Stephen Horsford, who is the chair of the CBC, many, many months ago, put together a democracy and race summit. And since then, he and other members have been doing a tour around the country in 10 cities where they have been meeting with community members, meeting with advocates to really talk about what needs to be done to ensure that our democracy is protected, to ensure that the needs of the community around democracy and freedoms are at the forefront. And this really is a culmination of that work. We very thoughtfully looked at how do we tie all of this work together, because none of it is a one-off. We know that it takes sustained strategic work to get these issues to the forefront and to figure out what we need to put in place to face these issues and to provide solutions.
Now that's wonderful. And I have to still go back a little bit, because when the CBC was first established, I think there were 13 members?
Yes.
And now we're at 58?
We are at 58. And hopefully there's an election year coming up next year. I'm hoping that will increase.
And on top of that, because of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, which I think is a great training ground for future leaders, for young advocates and activists. Some of them have come through the foundation and ended up as a member of Congress. Is that correct?
Yes, Congresswoman Lauren Underwood is a prime example. Our Leadership Institute puts more Black interns on Capitol Hill than any other organization in the country. And folks need to understand that when the foundation was created, it was created to serve as a vehicle to really formulate and provide opportunities for the next generation of Black leaders. And we were also created to be a think tank for Black America. Through our research, through our data collection and compilation, so that we can educate the public. And that's what our focus is. It is making sure that we grow the next generation of leaders, that we provide research and data and information, and that we serve as an educational resource. And Congresswoman Lauren Underwood and others like her are really, I tell them all the time, they are the walking embodiment of why we exist. In addition to our internship program that puts folks on the Hill, our interns are also in C-suites because we know we need diversity and we need representation in corporate America. We are also expanding our program and looking at how do we get more young folks into leadership opportunities in philanthropy and in major nonprofits. It is going to continue to grow because when we talk about Black leadership, it is not just about Black elected leadership. We need to have representation in all venues to ensure that we have a voice, to ensure that our communities are heard and are seen. And right now, in particular, where there are attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which we will be dealing with at ALC during our town hall discussion, and we're going to have a DEI discussion in our exhibit hall on the 21st. We know that these are the issues that we have to focus on to make sure that our future leaders have opportunities to be in these roles and to have their voices heard.
Well, I know that, the event has a lot of, it's very lively and a lot of fun things that happen, but it's very serious. It's really based on some serious issues that are affecting our community and conversations about not just what to do, but what's being done.
Exactly.
In states all across this country. What other things can you tell us will be highlighted at this year's ALC?
Well, there's two key things, Denise, that I'd like to uplift. And let me also say thank you for pointing out that it is a lot of fun. It is. But what I said to my staff when I first came on board as president and CEO is that ALC is really the culmination of the work that we do. It's the opportunity for us to bring folks from around the country and around the world, in fact, together. But it is about the people. We know that for us, our culture includes being joyous, coming together to celebrate one another, to celebrate our victories, and that is a part of it. But by no means should we get it wrong. The focus, the main reason why we are together is to look at the issues that are plaguing our community. One of the things that we are going to be doing, our CBCF board chair, Representative Terry Sewell, who represents the 7th District in Alabama, she will have a voting brain trust. She has one every year, but it's even more important this year, Denise, because of a recent decision from the Supreme Court that ensured that because of some redistricting issues, Alabama now has an opportunity to have a district that will be more representative of the Black community. But their local legislature, the state legislature in Alabama, is fighting that despite the Supreme Court's ruling. So we're going to have a conversation about that, but not just a conversation. The litigators who litigated that case and the related cases are going to be a part of Representative Sewell's brain trust. Folks need to be in that room.
Oh, yeah.
We know we have an election year coming up. These are the kinds of issues that make the difference between our community having a voice and having power and not having a voice and not having power. That's what the whole voting struggle was about. So I wanted to lift that up. I also want to lift up that we know, again, that the future of our work is all about the young people and the young leaders. So we have an emerging leaders track that I encourage all of our young people, and I'm talking young people from teens all the way up to, I'm not even gonna put an age limit on it.
Yeah.
We are young. We are young for many years, but it is focused on how these young people can meet leaders. They will have an opportunity to be a part of an event that it's similar to speed dating, but it is an opportunity where they go from table to table and they meet leaders and corporate folks, nonprofit leaders, and they talk to them about the work that they're doing and career opportunities. That is something for those young people. We have that whole track, and if people go to cbcfinc.org, they can click on the links. And there will be tons of information, more information than anybody can take in, all about ALC, and it will give them that information. But we want those young people there. There will be a discussion among young leaders with Senator Raphael Warnock, who we know is one of our members who is in the Senate. And again, we know we have a dearth of representation in the Senate, but his leadership is important. He's going to be talking to young people about the work that he is doing. So not only do we want folks to be in those rooms with the voting issues with Rep. Sewell, but we want them to be in the rooms with Senator Warnock, again, talking about what are the issues we're dealing with now, but also talking about how do we encourage and form and support the future leaders. Because when I'm long gone, Denise, when you are long gone, it is those young people who will have to sustain this work, sustain the history and the mission of the foundation and the legacy of ALC.
You know, one of the things that used to be a real highlight a couple years back was the Congresswoman, and I don't know why her name just went out of my head, from Florida, who would bring in that large group of young Black men in their blue jackets. And,
that might have been Congresswoman Meek, but I'm not sure.
No, it's the woman that, you know, she wears the beautiful hats.
Oh, that is Representative Frederica Wilson.
Exactly.
Yes. Representative Wilson, she still does that. She is going to be active. Those folks are going to be on site from her community. Yes.
Yeah, they're a very impressive group of young Black men that she brings. And so I'm wondering, is because this is held in DC every year, is there any, well, one, let me just say the Washington Informer is very proud to be the publisher of a publication that features ALC that will be placed in all of the conveners' bags. But
yes, and we thank you for that. People look for that, Denise. You should know. And people, I've even had people in my family after ALC last year, they came to me and they said, look, we've got it. So it has an impact. So thank you for that.
Yeah, some people even get them autographed, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
But otherwise in DC, you know, is there a local component to this? I know it's held at the Washington Convention Center, and you know, we're talking about young people, and I think about, you know, some of our kids that are, you know, presidents of student governments or what have you. But is there a local component to this other than it being held here?
Absolutely. Well, of course, Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, who is a member of CBC, is going to have various offerings through her office, and she will have panels. We always highlight that. But we also are making sure that we are creating opportunities for the young people here in DC to be there. Now, even though there is a cost to an ALC registration, for the young people, there are discounts, and for individuals who for the youth and also for our seniors. I want to make sure we are capturing it at both ends, because that wisdom and that youth, all of that is equally important.
Right.
They have opportunities to come at discounted rates, in some instances for free. Individuals who want to just come in and walk off the street on a particular day, if you don't know you can be there, or if you have some limitations, if you come in on any of those given days, whether it be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all the panels and things are done after Saturday. But if you come into our registration area and you say you just want a one-day free pass, you can get that. Wow. We are making sure that folks locally here in DC, look, we don't care what your name is, what your title is, none of that is important. It is about our community coming together, and we want to make all of these sessions, these brain trusts, opportunities, again, as you said, Denise, to meet the members face to face and talk to them. We want to make that available to everyone. And it doesn't matter race, color, creed, title, income, age. This is a community event. And so we want to make it accessible to as many people as possible.
Nicole, thank you for being with us today and taking time out to tell us what's coming up September 20th through the 24th here in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Convention Center. We are, hopeful that it's going to be one of the best events the LC has had, and wish you much success.
I am counting on it, Denise. And again, thank you for this opportunity for me to sit down with you and to sit down with your community of listeners and viewers. We value them so much. None of this would be possible without them. And we are so, so appreciative for your continuous support always. You and the Informer, you are a Washington landmark. I test people when I test them on a few things. Do you know when people say, "Oh, I've lived in DC for a long time"? Do you know where the shrimp boat is? Do you remember the channel in? Do you know the Informer? These are some of the questions, okay? And I've been here for 33 years now. My husband is a born and bred Washingtonian, Denise. He still says I'm a visitor, and I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. But I know our roots here, and you all are such a strong part of it, and we are just so appreciative. So thank you.
Well, fantastic. When you say shrimp boat and channel in, you got the card. You got the DC.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna tell my husband. I'm telling him.
All right.
Take good care, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Likewise. All righty. Bye-bye. Oh boy, did she say that? The shrimp boat and the channel in. I mean, the wharf looks nothing like it used to look, right? So you really have to be from DC in order to remember what was down there at the wharf. But anyway, let's bring back Dr. Edward Rice, who's got a superhero that he wants to talk to us about and actually give us a reason why we want to talk about it. Dr. Rice, welcome to Let's Talk.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So you are a journalism professor at the Moreno Valley College in California, but you're also an author.
I am an author, and I have to say, since I'm on the Washington Informer, a Howard grad, and I remember the wharf, and I remember those days. So I was like, okay, I don't know if I qualify because I was only there for like 5 years, but having been back to DC so many times, like, I know exactly what you're referring to. So.
Well, you get two stamps. You get a stamp because you were here for 5 years. You get a stamp for being a Howard grad. So
okay, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Now, mind you, it's a book of 100 stamps. You're only getting two, but you're on your way.
I'm working on the rest of them. So we'll be good.
Wonderful. So tell me about this book and who this superstar is. We've been keeping a secret for the past 30 minutes.
So the book is Introducing Cosmic Granny. It's the first one, so that's where the introducing comes from.
Now say the name again.
It's Cosmic Granny.
Cosmic Granny.
Yes.
And she is the superhero.
Yes, she's the main hero. So the idea for the book came about, honestly, when I was in the 6th grade. So it was a classroom assignment. And my late mother kept the assignment. She loved the story that I wrote and kept it. And so after she passed, my dad found it. And, she had always urged me to write it, to update it. And I was like, it's something I'm going to get to, right? And then my dad found it and was like, are you ever going to do something with this? And so, I was like, well, let me see. And then I updated it. And through a series of what I say are very fortunate events, I as a professor, publishers reach out to us all the time. So I was talking to a salesman at the company that I work with now. And he mentioned that they had a new children's arm, and he asked me, do you know any authors? And I was like, well, actually, and I sent them my stuff. They loved it. Asked me if I was interested in publishing. I obviously was. And as they say, the rest is kind of history. I had, at the time when they reached out to me, I had already updated it, and I have like 2 or 3 stories in the can already. So the first one was pretty much done. We went through the editing process and, changed and tweaked a few things, but, it was pretty seamless. Found an illustrator whose work, as you can see, I really loved. And from there, went on about, creating a book. And so now I'm in the process of adding more stories, building out the Cosmic Granny universe.
You have to, because when I got to the end, I was like, wait a minute. I got to read the next one, because it just left me on the edge of my seat.
That was
enjoyed it, but it left me on the edge of my seat. I'm like,
that was
I've got to read
intentional.
the next one. Okay.
That was intentional. I wanted you guys to come back. I want people to look for the next story. I wanted them to be interested in her adventures with her grandkids, the Astro kids, who also fight evil and fight crime with her in the cosmos. So I'm glad that you want to read more, because there's more coming. Ideally, I would like to put one out like every spring, every summer. Give it a chance to find its audience, give people a chance to invest in the characters and things like that. And so, eventually have just a whole series of books, big picture cartoons, films. Like, I'm open to it. I'm open to it all, but I'm really, just excited to see where this character and this series can go.
So, I mean, I think you reminded us that, is it this Sunday that's Grandparents' Day?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and we definitely know how important grandparents are in our community. I mean, they are, in many cases, grandparents are the parents. They're raising the kids, which
Absolutely.
make them the real superheroes.
You know,
So, but again, why grandparent? Why was it was it the grandmother or the grand nanny, or
well,
why is she so important?
That's an interesting question. So like I said, initially I was a kid when I did it, and I wanted to, stand out. I wanted to get a good grade. It was an assignment. I wanted to do something different, and so it was really just an opportunity for me to to distinguish myself from the rest of the students and make sure I got a good grade. So I would say that was likely, probably where my mind was at that point. But when I revisited, what I realized is I said, okay, I have an opportunity here, because we can reimagine what heroes look like. Like, there isn't really a hero that looks like her. There really isn't a hero out there. And so, I'm always curious, because in our culture now, the way that it's kind of set up, heroes don't age, but we know that they do, right? Some of them are gods, some of them aren't, but across the spectrum, like, they never really age. And so what I wanted to do is reimagine the superhero and say, what could it look like if our grandparents, or if we had an elderly superhero, or we had a grandmother. I mean, when you think about it, they have the wisdom, they have the skills, like why not? And even as I age, our 50s don't look like our parents' 50s, and theirs don't look like their parents. So I think it's very possible for a grandparent to be a superhero. Like you said, they've been pillars of our community and holding up our families for years. Why not put them in a costume, and let them fight crime?
And that's what I wanted to talk about briefly, because we're not talking about, grandmas that necessarily, what, cook Sunday meals or any of that. We're talking about a cosmic granny, who's
Yeah,
who's flying spaceships and,
and everything, and the background. So here's the background of the character that I kept from my original writing was that she's a retired space commander. At in the original writing, I had her working at NASA. Because of copyright and stuff, I wasn't for sure I could do that now. So I just had her working at the intergalactic. She was an intergalactic space commander, but the idea was that she's rooted in science. She is rooted in military training. Even in the beginning of the story, they go through a series of exercise so that they can become a commander. So the idea, obviously, what I'm hoping is that we can see and maybe tease out later, is the fact that she's a scientist, a trained fighter. She has a military background, which means she has weapons experience, and she has survival skills, excuse me. And then she has her own instincts as a grandmother, to just protect and to care for her kids, her community, and to want to stamp out evil wherever it is. And so it's a futuristic type of story. So it's set in the cosmos, so there's even that piece to build out. So it's definitely something that I want to build.
well, while it's fiction, a lot of it's real,
Mhm.
because we do have grandmas who, have science backgrounds, and who
Absolutely.
want to fight crime in the community, and do all that kind of stuff. So it's fiction, but it's real, and it's very colorful. I think the graphics are tremendous. You say there's another one, hopefully, or others on the way. And so I really, really am excited about that. Any hints about what might be coming next?
Well, I think again, sort of, I want to again build out her universe, right, and tell and share more of her adventures. So, in the next book, I'll introduce a different character because sort of like the same way that the one thing I guess comparison that I could make, how you have Batman and he have like his main arch nemesis, which is probably the Joker, but then there's a whole other cadre of villains.
Yes.
There's the Penguin and the Riddler and Mr. Freeze. So I kind of wanted to model her after sort of that, type of storytelling where, she has the main character, which is Meteor Molly in this case, but then there's another one, Denture Dan, and there's a couple other villains that are coming. So I want to introduce those characters. The other thing too is that, she fights crime with the Astro kids. Those are her grandkids. So I want to begin to tell some of their stories and show some of their expertise and some of the, their abilities as well. And just really focus on how they support and help her, fight crime. So, that's what's coming, down the pike, again, just telling more of these stories, sending her on more adventures, helping her do a little, exploration of the cosmos, and again, fighting crime and, stamping out evil along the way.
Well, Dr. Rice, thank you so much for introducing us to Cosmic Granny. I think Chevy has placed up where people can get the book. Is it all digital, or are there hard copies?
So it's digital and hard copy. So you can go to the website, which is cosmicgranny.com, and there's a link that says buy the book, and there's another link that says the debut book is available, and you can click on right there. Again, as you can see right here, I'm on IG at cosmic.granny, and Facebook, you can search and find me at Cosmic Granny. It's also available at Barnes & Nobles. Amazon is getting there, so they're not quite there yet, but barnesandnobles.com, you can go in and you can purchase the book. And again, you can also go to the website, cosmicgranny.com, and you can buy the book there.
Fantastic. Well, I cheated. I read it online, but I'm going to go back and get a copy because I just need to have that in my library. And one day I want to find out what happened to her earthling partner, Earth Granddaddy. I don't know where he is, but I'd love to hear that story.
We might explore that. We might have a cosmic granddaddy that comes in along the way.
Don't get me started.
Right. I mean, it can go a lot of places. I'm open.
It can.
Like I said, it started in the mind of a 12-year-old, and now it's in his adult mind now. So there's a lot of places where the character can go. So I'm open to a lot of different interpretations. So
keep going.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
I plan on it.
Thank you so very much for joining us today, and we're going to keep reading. Okay,
thank you for having me.
Alrighty.
You have a good one. Okay, bye
You
bye.
too. Bye bye. Yeah, check it out. I enjoyed it. I started reading, I couldn't stop. So, and it's not a long read, but it's still fun and adventurous, and that's what I liked. But now we're going to talk about adventure and fun. The 8th Street Festival is on its way, and I am so excited to bring on We Pang Yap, as well as Salim. I'm getting a lot of feedback here.
All right, how you doing?
Hey, Anwar, how are you?
All right, pretty good.
Good. Yeah, we got to we have to make sure that Weeping doesn't have her Facebook or something else going, because we're getting some feedback from her. So, but I do want to talk to you about the 8th Street Festival. So, gosh, you're still at it.
Yes, sir. It's our 18th year.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, really trying to make it happen, that folks know what's happening on 8th Street and the changes that are taking place. That's what this is all about, to bring DC alive on 8th Street Northeast.
As executive director of 8th Street, Main Street, and the festival director, and you're talking about changes on 8th Street. If anybody wanted to see how DC has evolved, just take a walk down 8th Street.
And I agree. I mean, because 8th Street, you look at where 8th Street was the quarter in the city back in the heyday, and then you look at where 8th Street went through the riots. I think 8th Street was hit the hardest during the riots, in the 1968 riots, and it took over 50 years to bring 8th Street back. And many people thought it would never come back. And we worked for years and dealt with the planning with some of the city officials and all. And matter of fact, some of the city officials didn't even think it could take place within a certain period of time. And we did it. And we won the Great American Main Street Awards 10 years after we started. So that goes to show you can take any neighborhood, and if you really focus, that you can change any neighborhood.
Right. Well, it has certainly changed. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now you got. I mean, of course, restaurants and bars and what have you, but you got brand new grocery stores, theater, museums. It's a whole lot on 8th Street now that just wasn't. We're still trying to get Wu Ping in, but we're having some technical problems with her. So anyway, what's going to happen? What are we looking forward to on September the 16th?
We're looking at a mile and a half worth of entertainment taking place on 8th Street. Okay. And a lot of new businesses that have opened up. Some closed because of the pandemic, but I think we had less to close on the pandemic than probably any other quarter because we really work with these businesses. So we want to highlight, those successes. We want to highlight the new businesses that have come that people have missed over the last 3 years, and we want to celebrate our successes. And that's what this 8th Street Festival is all about. We want to bring in new entertainers, musicians, and so forth that's been sitting by the wayside for so long, not doing anything. We want to give them some exposure. So a lot of great talent in Washington, D.C., and a lot of up-and-coming talent in D.C., and we try to showcase this talent that we have.
So any highlights that you can share with us that folks can anticipate on the 16th?
Yeah, I mean, we have our jazz stage, our blues stage. We have a truck jamboree at the AutoZone parking lot. We have the kids area that's going to take place at 7th and 8th Street. We have DPR just basically working with us to really make some strong things happen. We have a lot of DC government that's coming out to show what DC is all about and the offerings of DC, because we don't want to just show the what businesses we have. But we also want to show what the city has to offer. This is a partnership. When we are successful and the city is successful, we are successful. So we just can't do it alone. That we have to show that we have other partners within the city that really make 8th Street successful. And we have also private entities that's being involved. So we're able to showcase that. We also have mobile barbering. We're trying to change the industry in the barbering industry and cosmetology industry. And we're trying to put some of this stuff on the road. So we have mobile barbering units that's going to be out there to show the potential that if you have a truck to pull up and service you, it can be cosmetology or barbering, for example, that what can really happen. So we have 2 mobile barbering units on 8th Street that's going to take place also. So that's going to be out there. So again, a lot is going on. We have jazz area, we have a gospel area. We have 8th and 8th Street stages with a lot of great entertainment. I'm telling you, we can't underscore the entertainment that we're going to have. There's a lot of foodies out there and a lot of people out there with their wares having merchandise sales.
So a lot of attendees are coming to 8th Street. They're coming, like you said, to vend, to listen to music and what have you. How do you engage the businesses along the corridor? How do they participate?
Well, they have their patios. They can come out and show their wares and show what they have to offer. We have patio gardens where they can have the beer, the wine, and the food out there. And I think that's going to be great. They have signages up, the businesses. They want that exposure. I think looking at the pandemic, post-pandemic, that more businesses are trying to show what type of services they have, how their customer service is. So a lot of this time, I think you're going to have people going more into the businesses. With 150,000 people throughout the day, it'd be something for everyone, and they can be able to see what's new on 8th Street, what's been out there for a while, who really survived during the pandemic, and go on the inside and enjoy themselves. So it's about providing good services on that day for many of the businesses.
I know as executive director of 8th Street, Main Street, you're like a father, and so you can't really, give more attention to one family member than the other. But if you could say, maybe a couple of things that have really sort of either surprised you or really made 8th Street a signature, for the corridor. I mean, what would you say has happened, or who has come, or what's there Is there something that you just like, I'm really proud of this?
You know, I'm more proud that we have a multicultural collective of different cultures of businesses, which I think is good. And we have the only Swiss restaurant in DC. We have a non-alcoholic bar in DC on H Street. We have bronze, Jamaican, you have Italian, you name it, we have it on H Street. So I think that if people was to come to H Street and you was a tourist and you come down, you say, okay, it's a little something for everyone. But if you want to try something different, you better try something different from different cultural backgrounds.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's good. It's a melting pot. It's a melting pot where everybody's showing, everybody's bubbling up and showing. Not a melting pot where you mix in and you get lost. It's a melting pot where everybody is bubbling up and being highlighted and seen.
Wonderful. So again, I keep saying September 16th, but give us the details.
September 16th, the festival starts at 12 o'clock from 12 to 7. We have fashion, we have music, we have good food, we have, you name it, karaoke if you want to sing. You can come to 10th and 8th Street. We have some of the superheroes that's going to be at 10th and 8th Street. So we have a lot going on.
Right. So we were trying to get Whooping. I'm gonna just be quiet and just let her close out.
Thank you. Sorry for the technical problems. Anwar is doing a great job. I don't need to be here, but I do have a huge surprise for the rest of the people. And this is the first time you'll hear it from us on Washington Informer. We were releasing we have a contest going on that everyone can apply for. It's going to be the first ever H Street Idol contest. So if you think you can sing, stay tuned to our social media. You'll find the information and the link to apply to be a contestant. And you hear it first at the Washington Informer. And we want to thank Ameri Group for supporting us on the project. So please come. It's 12 blocks of fun. We are the one and only free community neighborhood festival that has 150,000 people. So make sure you come on out on September 16 from 12 to 7.
Thank you.
That was a great announcement.
Can't wait to see who this H Street Idol is going to be. We're going to look out and make sure we can do an interview with that person and watch them get crowned. And do they win money or anything like that as well, or what happens? I did. Oh well, Sherry's got. Go ahead. Start over again.
Maybe we can have somebody from Washington Informer on site be a judge alongside with our other judges. It's an invitation that we extended. It's a small monetary prize, but the fun is enormous, and it's the first one. A Street Festival Idol. You can't beat that.
All right. I was going to tell us that. We'll follow up. I want to thank both of you all for being with us today. I'm glad we got through, and I'm glad to hear that announcement, the H Street Idol and all the other great stuff that's going to be happening that day, Whooping, as well as Anwar. Thank you all both for being with us and for sharing this great information.
All right. Thank you.
All righty. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
All righty. So, boy, we got through that. Thank you, Chevy, because I'm looking forward to H Street. I'm looking forward to the caucus and reading a good cosmic granny book. But more importantly, we've got to talk a little bit of news and seriousness here. It's my honor to bring on our lifestyle reporter, Brenda Seiler, who will now do our interview with our representative from SAG-AFTRA, which I happen to be a member, Brenda.
Okay. That's a little known Black history fact.
Little known Black history fact, exactly. So let's bring on Tawanda, and I will turn it over to you. Okay. Hi, Tawanda.
Hello.
Tawanda, did you hear
Great
that?
to see you all.
our publisher is a member of SAG-AFTRA. Did you hear her say
I
that?
heard that Black history fact. I love that.
Thank you, Tawanda. I want to make sure everybody knows we've got Tawanda Underdew here, and she is on the national board of SAG-AFTRA. She is out of Baltimore, and she has been in the midst of the negotiations. The union that represents actors is SAG-AFTRA, and there has been a strike going on for a lot of important reasons. But tell us a little bit, Tawanda, the reasons behind the strike and how are negotiations going?
Well, the reasons for the strike. Well, first of all, the AMPTP, which is the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, have been unwilling to bring a fair deal to the table that addresses some essential key issues that impact the livelihood of performers and just creatives in general. Yes.
And those, in terms of you all negotiating with, are those entities that control the studios, you know, can actually are in the position of making and distributing the product that actors are involved in?
Yes, yes. The AMPTP, they're the hired representatives for the big studio names that I don't want to name, but all the ones that you know that are putting out all of the media that you see on your screen, small screens, big screens, and the like. Yeah.
And what contributes to the income out of which actors are paid are streaming services.
That's right.
Not just movie theaters, streaming services, multiple airings on television for different productions. And now we're tiptoeing in, and really not tiptoeing in, it feels like we're stomping into artificial intelligence and what that means in terms of revenue.
That's right. That's right. You touched on some key things here. The contract that's up for negotiation is the TV theatrical negotiating, TV theatrical contract, which I'm on the negotiating committee, and it impacts streaming as well. And as a lot of people know, you know, a lot of things have gone from network to streaming, and all of these streaming platforms, they're getting millions and millions of viewers. And there hasn't been any parameters around how performers are compensated on those platforms. So that's one of the things that we're negotiating about. Whereas someone who was working on a network show like me could get a decent living from our residuals, sometimes we get pennies, literally pennies, from the streaming networks, platforms. And they're not wanting to share with us what their revenues are, and we just want to share in those revenues.
And one of the things, this sounds so familiar to what the music industry has been dealing with also for a number of years. And I'm not sure how many people in the general public know that through SAG-AFTRA, you can also have health benefits.
That's right.
And but there's a cap or in terms of what you have to bring in order to even access those healthcare benefits. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because there's been a number of figures tossed around, but exactly how much do you need to make as an actor in order to take advantage of the healthcare program?
That's right. Thank you for the question, Brenda. They've made this a big Hollywood, you know, kind of a strike, but it's for everyone. 86% of our membership does not make the $26,000 a year it takes to get health insurance. Yes, 86%. So 26,000 is the answer there.
And a lot of people should know you're based out of Baltimore. You are an actress, but you are representing the Mid-Atlantic region, and that includes DC, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and North Carolina. So there's a pretty wide area. And if a lot of people probably realize when they're watching TV, when they're in a movie theater or when they're streaming, there are a lot of productions that are done here in Washington, D.C. You see all the monuments and everything in the background. That's not put in against a green screen. That's actually being shot here. And the fact that it's kind of a standstill and nothing is really being produced impacts other businesses in our area. It impacts the entire ecosystem of what brings in revenue to businesses and revenue into the District of Columbia and the other states, the states around us. Well, we are a state, whether people want to recognize it or not. The states around us. Talk about that impact on revenue that helps to run our areas where we live.
That's right. The entertainment industry impacts so many different occupations. We're talking about those who build our sets, those who move the gear around, those who drive the talent to set. We're talking about wardrobe people, who buying things, catering, restaurants. We're talking about our fellow sibling unions, AOTC and Teamsters. We're talking about security people, just the local community. For instance, there was a production that was here, and because we're in the strike, we don't want to promote any particular production. So I'm going to kind of code say there was a production here that was a comedy about a vice president that had 4 letters. I was on that show as well. But at one point, some of the production, they wanted to buy some propane tanks for, some of equipment. So they went to the local community shop, and they went in there, and they said they wanted everything that they had. And the shop owner said, "You mean you want every single one?" They were like, "Yeah." So they're like, "Wow, like it's lucrative for even the mom and pop businesses." And they're saying, "When are you all coming back again to film something else?" Because it's benefiting the whole community, hotels, rental cars, all of that.
And what was it again that they were trying to buy that they needed as a prop for that?
No, they wanted to power some of the equipment. So they needed like propane tanks, you know what I mean? So usually tanks. Like a local community shop, they're like, "Oh, somebody buys one." They say, "No, we want everything you have." They're like, "Wow."
Well, there you go. They bought all, and they could close the store down for the day.
Exactly. They're like, "Okay, we like this film industry."
And you mentioned the other unions that you collaborate with, because I remember earlier this year when the Recording Academy, the Grammys, came into DC for their annual Grammys on the Hill. And you all were a part of that because there was advocacy going on about the RAP Act, which had to do with lyrics. Lyrics, and also with the SAG and AFTRA strike right now, the writers union.
Yes, that's
closely aligned, because if you don't have any words, you don't have a script. Therefore, there's no work to do the production. Are you all doing any advocacy in terms of what the Screen Actors Guild is looking for in their contract? Are you doing any advocacy with Congress, with local legislators here in DC government, like with Mayor Bowser, with the governor's office? How are you keeping them abreast of what's going on so perhaps they can lend their voice to some support if they want to do that?
Yes, we are working with with the federal government as well as local government to keep them abreast. We do have our own lobbyists and things like that who are educating them on things like AI, which is actually image theft, that they shouldn't be using our images and making digital replicas of us without compensating us, getting consent from us, so that we can have control of our images. So definitely we're working on legislation on the federal level and local state level. And also we're using our contracts to put in, language, put some parameters around it so that we are advocated for and we're not taking advantage of. Yes.
We had a segment earlier about the upcoming Congressional Black Caucus Foundation annual legislative conference that'll be taking place at the Washington Convention Center. And I'd like to follow up with you to see if any of your lobbyists are going to be there, because, we definitely would like to have a conversation with them. We're going to be having our managing editor, Misha Green, on site doing some person on the street interviews, and we would love to be able to do an interview with them again to get an update, to find out exactly what are the committees on the Hill that may be involved and be interested in what's going on, because we're talking about work. People need to bring in income. They need to be able to have a quality lifestyle. And we're not talking about the big talent that gets the millions of dollars. We're talking about anybody that is working on a production, that they need to be able to take care of themselves and their families.
That's right.
And Tawanda, I want to thank you. We will be following up with you because I know the negotiations are going on, and we will want to have you back to get an update, to keep informed about what's going on. And all the best to you and the career.
Just like I want to add a few things. Just if somebody wants to contribute financially to help those who aren't working, we have a few sites there. You can go to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation.org, or the Entertainment Community Fund, or the Motion Picture and Television Fund. They're also giving to actors who and performers, creatives who are, on hard times because of the strike. And go to SAG-AFTRAstrike.org if you want more information, and participate in our interim agreements as well. You can participate and still work while the strike is going on.
Thank you for that. We're putting that information up on the screen so people can follow up. SAG-AFTRAstrike.org, folks. That's where you can go. And I know probably a number of you have friends, or even yourselves, you work films and other productions in other capacities that are going on here in the DC area.
Right.
This is so important to the livelihood of our city. So thank you so very much, Tawanda.
Thank you for
and all the best to you, and we will keep in touch.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much, Brenda. I appreciate it. Thank you, Washington Report. Informer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda, for conducting that very informative interview. And people just don't always understand the impact that this strike is having on our neighbors. And so I'm glad you did that. Yeah, I have a SAG-AFTRA membership, which I've had for about 12 years. I have never qualified for anything. So I am definitely, feeling their pain, but from a distance, because I'm not in that loop. But I'm just glad that we were able to share that, and that we can support these actors and writers who are, like I said, our neighbors.
Yeah, I was so happy that we were able to get her. And Tawanda's been on the go. She was telling me day before yesterday she was in a 5-hour negotiating meeting.
Yeah. Well, that's what's happening. We have to see what's happening with this whole labor. We just celebrated or acknowledged Labor Day, and just fair wages are very important for all workers. So thank you again for bringing her on and having that segment. So
my pleasure.
I'm going to sign off now. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for always staying with us a few more minutes. We always have important information we want to bring you. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Again, we're trying to transition from WIN TV, which will be our overall program channel. And this segment is called Let's Talk. And in the coming days, we might have a few other things to present to you. So we'll keep you busy and watching, and hopefully you will subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we can keep you informed. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.